Hi, Elke. I want to talk to you about art in ancient Greece, having to do with Homer's The Odyssey. I'm going to start by showing you a timeline. I don't know if you can read this because I haven't done this before, but I can say it. The Trojan War was 1200 BC. Homer was 750. That means that Homer wrote the stories of the Trojan War several hundred years after they occurred. In 500 was the Persian War, which I know that you're reading about because you have that book about the ancient wars. In 430 was the Peloponnesian War between Athens and Sparta. It was often referred to as the Golden Age. It's the time of Socrates. It's the time that the Parthenon was built. In 320 is the age of Alexander, and then 50 years before Christ comes Caesar and the beginning of the Roman Empire, not the Roman Republic. So let's go to around 800 BC. And look at this. This is a pot. Has no imagery. But you'll notice the decorations that it has. The decorations tend to be stripes. Now I want to say something about these stripes. When you make a pot, a ceramic pot on a wheel, which you probably remember from IS 183, if you ever went down and watched pottery being done, the thing about the pottery is that you make it on a wheel and it's spinning. And so from the very earliest times, and this is 800 BC, so it's right about here that we're talking about, they discovered that if you just touch a paintbrush to a spinning pot, it'll draw a stripe. Now that has been done from even before the time of the Trojan War. There are countless examples of pots with decorations based upon the fact that the pot, when it's spinning, can be decorated very, very easily. Now this I wanted to show you because it has no figures. The figures come later, around 700 BC. Now, here is an example of all the kinds of designs that were utilized in 800 BC. All based upon elaborations of the idea of the pot going around. The pot is going around and a brush or a tool is brought up against it, and then these are elaborated on with various, when the pot is turning very slowly. How long has this been going on? Well, have a look at this. This is a teacup. You can see very clearly that the concept of the decoration of that, the concept of the decoration of this is exactly the same. Although this is a cast, in other words, it wasn't thrown on a wheel, the original was thrown on a wheel and decorated on a wheel. Here's the saucer. Saucer looks like this. Here's another saucer with stripes with elaborations. This is a plate, but still decorated by spinning. So now we go to the beginning of imagery in these early ceramic works. This, you really can't tell that it's a pot, but if you look down here, you see a piece of an oval, and that shows that this is a round surface. What is this? This is the horse that the Trojans built. That tricked the Trojans. See, the horse has windows with men inside. There's a very early example of the attempt to illustrate the story of the Trojan War in pottery. This is 675 BC. So this is the age of Homer that this horse with the faces was done. This is 600 BC. Here we have, this says, the binding of Polyphemus by Odysseus and his men, as depicted on this Greek pottery, 7th century, 600 BC. Now, what I want you to notice about this is that you could say that this figure is not very anatomically accurate, and certainly Polyphemus is a very, very decoratively and not accurately drawn. The reason I point that out is because when figures started to be put on pots, they were concerned about the decorative element and not what these things actually look like. So it's not so much a figure as a symbolic figure. Now look at this horse and you'll see what I mean. You see here how the pot, let me move this a little bit. You see how this pot was decorated with stripes. And here this up and down pattern. You see the up and down pattern? The pot is going slowly around and the tool is making a zigzag all the way around the pot. But they wanted to tell a story. And so here we have a man in a chariot behind a horse. The question is, why does this horse and this horse look like this? Didn't these people know that a horse's body doesn't look like that? Two reasons. One, because they were concerned about decorating the pot, not in making an accurate picture. It had to be done quickly and simply. So look at the face of the man, the body of the horse, the way the legs are drawn. All is reminiscent of this pattern, which is quickly made strokes that symbolize the things that are being illustrated and not describe it. You could almost say that here you see sort of the origin of language, in other words, letters and words rather than images. Now this is 600 BC. Now, here we have a very elaborate bowl, and I'm going to read what it says. Drinking cup depicting scenes from the Odyssey, period 560-550 BC. The painter of the Boston Polyphemus, Museum of Fine Arts, Boston. That's where this can be seen. Now, this is a couple hundred years after this, and you see the evolution of the style of decoration becomes more complicated and more informed and more descriptive and not just symbolic. But still, look at this decoration that runs across the bottom of these like upside down heart shapes. This is the use of decoration of a repeating pattern on pottery from ancient times until modern times. Now comes this. This is, I'll read it to you. But what this is the scene on the body depicts one body of the pottery, it means. One of the most popular subjects in Greek art, main in vase painting between 540 and 480. This is getting really close to what we call the Golden Age. Over 150 occurrences of this are known. Remarkably, the original composition survives in the Vatican museums. The artist was, and they know his name, Athena. That's Athena in the middle of the picture. This is the Greek heroes of the Trojan War while away their time with the pieces on a game board in which the pieces are moved according to the roll of a dice. Here is Euryclea washing Odysseus' feet. Now, we are at 440 BC. Look at the face here. And look at the face here. Look at the hand, although it's kind of worn out. Look at the hand holding the staff and compare that to this. You see, it took them many hundreds of years to go from a face like that to a face like that. Now, this is 410 BC. I want you to notice the curious way the face is drawn, we could ask this question. Could we possibly recognize this person if we saw them? Could we recognize this woman possibly if we saw her? Yes, of course. These are portraits, right down to the peculiarity of the hand's fingers. Look at that little finger is like that. Is observed. Now that is just a detail of that image. Here is a close-up of it. I'm going to try this. I'm going to bring it up a little bit. You'll see the way the leg is drawn. No leg like that can be drawn without observation, looking at actual leg to show the muscle. And this is called foreshortened. The foot is shown head on from an angle, almost like a camera looked at it. Now what is this doing here? This is here because it has a relationship to you and your history in this way. This is 50 Days at Ilium, and it's by Twombly. Now, the last time you heard about Twombly, you were 7 years old, and I told you that your scribbles were better than Twombly's scribbles because his scribbles were fake and yours were authentic. Now, that was a joke, but I was serious when I said it. But this Twombly character, I said when I wrote up about that thing that happened when you were learning to scribble, I said, Twombly is famous, and part of the reason is his use of obscure, archaic titles. Well, here's an example. 50 Days at Ilium, 1978. I was reading about this, and I found out that he deliberately misspelled his words. So he writes Poseidon, however you pronounce it, P-O-S-E-B-O-N. He writes Menelaus as M-E-N-E-L-L, and then he doesn't know what. So, like he was pretending to scribble. These are giant paintings. There were 10 of them. He's pretending to not know how to write. He's pretending to not know how to spell. And all I can say about it is the same as with the scribbles. These are fake misspellings, and your misspellings are the real ones. So you're still the better artist when it comes to scribbling and misspelling. And so this does not have an assignment. This is just a bunch of information. I'm sorry, the pages kept slipping. And consider it to be your first homeschool art lecture.